on Instagram. We are live and welcome to Shifting from Grudge to Grit, Grace, and Gratitude. I trust that I'm going to be able to go live on, it doesn't seem to want to go live on Instagram today. So apologies for those that are on Instagram. We sometimes get this creeping in. Okay, we needed to be a bit patient there. It allowed me to press live. Welcome, 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 Tanesha Moody, all the way from Maryland, or Maryland, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, in the United States. And our topic today is reframing rejection, how to lead, live, and thrive full out. So before I introduce your bio and get you to say hi, we are really sad to not have Jamila, my co-host, with us today. She's not feeling too well, so do keep her in prayer that she recovers very quickly. And then I am looking forward to seeing her again next week with us. So, Tanesha, I'm going to let you say hello, welcome, welcome, and then I will read your bio afterwards.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone joining live. It's great to meet y'all virtually.
Yes, yes. So we're in good company, and I'm going to just read what this topic for those that are joining us from LinkedIn, from YouTube or Instagram. Thank you for being here. Please, as always, we expect you to participate, engage, and don't feel afraid or hesitate to ask Tanesha any questions or share your rejection stories, or rather, should I say, your redirect stories, given that we are reframing this for today. So, rejection has a way of shaking confidence, testing our resilience, and forcing uncomfortable transitions. But what if rejection isn't the end of the road, but rather an invitation? Tanesha, I'll read a bit about her bio, is a leadership and resilience coach, former professional theatre stage manager. That's an interesting career, and founder of Full Out Coaching. Her journey has been marked by multiple pivotal moments where she had to pivot, rebuild, and redefine success on her own terms. From managing global events at companies like, all of us know this company, Salesforce, and wait for it, Disney, and Under Armour, to coaching women and leaders to embrace rejection and lead, here's my favorite word, authentically. She helps individuals transform setbacks into stepping stones of growth, and her signature framework, the CLEAR method, provides clarity to their purpose for people to live aligned with their values and to embody their identity whilst aligning with courage and experiencing, I suppose, the ripple impact into their communities. She's passionate about creating spaces where real stories of transformation can inspire others to shift from struggle to strength and live fully and purposefully. So, without further ado, welcome again. But before we talk about the reframe, I really want to go into your hero's journey story, because we don't just get into the space of reframe or being victorious. We've had to have our own battle scars or victim experiences, or really just barriers, challenges, and obstacles to overcome. So you may start wherever you want to with your story, and whether that's at the beginning, middle, or end, it doesn't matter. So over to you, Tanesha.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the warm welcome. It means it means the world really to be here. I'm so appreciative. And yeah, like any good story, I feel like sometimes it has to start somewhere in the bottom, somewhere in a place where you're like, "Oh my goodness, this is really where we are right now." And I would say one of those moments for myself was actually while I was at Salesforce. I was actually a director there, leading global events, and found myself on site for an event in California. And if you're not familiar with the United States, Maryland and California are probably some of the furthest away states from each other. We're talking about 3,000 miles. and was
Wow.
on site, was in the process of getting ready to build out some strategies, keep things going, and went to sleep after hanging out with the team. Woke up the next morning to an email that I was laid off. And I was like, oh, wow.
Yikes.
Yikes, exactly. So it's like, all right, well, here we are. And it felt like a personal rejection. It really did. It felt like a moment where so many pieces of my life were just kind of falling apart. I really thought that that role was the one in quotation marks. I thought it was the one where I was going to have a chance to really grow and stay for a while, and that it was part of my purpose. It really felt like so many pieces were coming together, and then to wake up to an email that kind of just rips that apart really felt like I was receiving a large no on my forehead in that moment. And I think what hurt the most was like being, of course, away from home, away from the cat, away from family, and a sport like in the space of actually working on that event too. However,
Yeah.
throughout that moment, that was really kind of the starting point for where I had to actually do the work for myself because I recognized I was burnt out. I was unclear on my existence, why I existed, on my values, my purpose, for who I really was at my core in some ways. And that really prompted me to start doing the inner work to uncover what clarity looks like for me. What do I want my full out life to really look like? And I started to kind of piece things together. Things like figuring out my purpose, things like figuring out what my values were. And that really started to lay the foundation for what is the clear method, which I leveraged to help other people gain that clarity. Because I know what it feels like to lack clarity and to not know who you are, where you're going, and what you want life to look like. And of course, throughout their journey, there's a lot of rejections, there were a lot of tears. There were probably a little bit too many cocktails. But here we are. We've made it on the other side, and it's a privilege to help people to figure out what that looks like for them too.
That's an amazing rock bottom story back to victory, And I say rock bottom because at the time you were in this tunnel of darkness, and it was like, how do I claw myself back into the light, not even knowing that this very dark tunnel became the catalyst to bring you back into an even lighter existence than what you were before. Because as we both know, being in the corporate realm is by no means easy. It's a rat race, it's busy, it is just insanely busy all the time, that there isn't even a moment to catch your breath, and that you don't even realize that you're on autopilot, and that you have no inclination, that you are not even purposeful. You
Right.
assume that paycheck, that very attractive paycheck and full on package that comes with it, is you just living life by design. And then we realize that that design was flawed. And so, in the flaws, you have been able to discover that it was okay, those flaws, because you were able to almost rebuild it and recreate it from nothing back to something. So I want you to take us on that journey, because from not knowing where you fit and belong, and knowing that that is our innate desire as human beings, to fit and belong to something, you've had to restart. So take us on that journey.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for sharing that. I would say it was a lot of unlearning, is really where I had to start. Because I feel like society, the world, makes it feel like your purpose is your job. I
Mhm.
really thought that I was living my life. I was living the purpose that I was meant to because I had some pretty cool opportunities in corporate and, of course, in professional theater too. And I felt that that was my purpose. So it really started with an understanding that, like, wait a minute, what I've been fed is not actually right. This is not the meaning of life to work and then die. That's just not how we're supposed to be wired.
Yeah.
So that realization is really the start of something there. And throughout this time, too, I also started to really develop my faith as well. And being a Christian and recognizing that God has a plan for me, that was really important too. That my life actually has meaning, that it's supposed to mean something. I'm part of something bigger. That belief was so important as well. And then finally, well, not really finally, because it's been an ongoing journey of unpacking, like, all right, if my life has meaning, that
Yes.
means I must be uniquely qualified or wired or gifted in some way that is going to contribute to whatever that meaning might be. So, whatever that looks like, whatever those gifts and talents that I have, uncovering those through coaching, through asking my friends, my family, like, what do you see in me? What things am I good at? That really kind of helped to contribute and build into this puzzle of like, all right, these are the pieces of puzzle of purpose coming together. And then finally, leveraging my story, recognizing that like, okay, I've been going through a lot of rejections. I have navigated a lot of different transitions. I love serving and helping people. That bridge of seeing that, okay, my story had meaning all along, I've been living my purpose all along, really allowed me to kind of bridge together this meaning of what purpose actually is for myself, and seeing that the purpose that I have, the meaning that I have for my life, isn't even just about me. It's for others. These gifts I have, the stories and the rejections and the reframes that I have are meant to serve others. So how can I bridge all these things together to make an impact that I'm meant to? And that became the foundation for something that I actually call Ignis, which is my purpose framework to help people find, name, and live their purpose. I had to go through that step of finding, naming, and being able to live mine through doing a lot of inner work, through spending time with God, working with my own coaches, but also just being willing to accept the fact that I exist for a reason. That's where I feel like many people don't start when it comes to figuring out their purpose, because we're so caught up on our job being the purpose instead of the reason that we're actually here and cultivated and the difference we're supposed to make.
Tanisha, there's so many moving parts on what you said. And I'm going to pick up on a few that I heard you say. The story. So, what is the story or the script or the beliefs or the deep rooted programming that I believe was written for my life
Mm-hmm.
versus what is the narrative that I would want to live my life according to, which then leads into the faith thing. When we walk by faith and lead with prayer and understand everything is divinely written and orchestrated already for us, we shift out of the egoic state of thinking that we need to design, script, and orchestrate that life. And then another theme that I picked up from you in all that you've expressed is the labels and the constructs and the forms that we attach ourselves to, that we believe is the purpose, but it's only just the goalpost.
Yes.
So, being a coach yourself, I mean, I'm a coach as well, and I love to let people move out of the self sabotage state of
Mm-hmm.
their beliefs, their programming to self leadership, but leading through faith and leading through wisdom rather than ego and, that idea of what that picture should look like, and trusting and surrendering. But now I have banished the word goals from my
Mm-hmm.
vocabulary, which is very much insane, right, for us as coaches, because we say you need to have smart goals. So, what are your thoughts around that? Because I believe everything starts with an intention that is connected to the greater purpose that is born out of the pursuit of the pain, the difficulty, the rejections, because that's what we're talking about.
I love that question. Thank you so much for asking that. And I am pretty anti goal as well. I'm anti-goal and resolution too, like the New Year's resolutions. I know a lot of people do them. I don't set them, mostly because I personally feel that everything that I'm doing is contributing to my purpose. So everything that I'm trying to build is, of course, hopefully bringing glory to God too. So it's like these are all connected, even the small things of like how you talk to someone and if you wait to open the door. I feel like all of those pieces work together towards something bigger than ourselves.
Mhm.
So when it comes to goals, and I want to kind of segue just a minute here because I feel like there's something here around like I call them assignments.
Mhm.
And these assignments are things that kind of tier up into our purpose. And they might be the roles that we have, and they might connect to like something that we wish to accomplish. For example, like if your purpose is to serve multi passionate people like mine is, that might look like being a coach in this moment. It might look like being a writer next time, or even being a mom or a wife further down the road, too. So, like, all of those things kind of contribute to this overarching goal and purpose that I'm working to hopefully fulfill before the time ends. And when I think of it that way, it makes it a little bit easier for me to filter like, what am I doing in this moment of time? Where can I deliver value and impact that contributes to the overarching purpose that I exist here for? And when I start to think of it that way, it's really easy for me to filter out, like, all right, I don't need to take on this assignment. This opportunity isn't a fit for me because it doesn't align with my purpose. So I feel like when you have that clarity of what that bigger thing is for yourself, everything else can tear up to it. And anything that doesn't serve towards that, it's easy to push aside. In addition, especially when I think about coaching in itself, because I am an ICF certified PCC coach and definitely support the competencies and lean into those when I'm coaching and in those sessions. Fully believe that my clients are the experts in their lives.
Mhm.
And I know when it comes to those final moments in a coaching session, sometimes we get to a point and it's like, what do you want to do? Like, what are you going to be accountable for? Like, what's your next step? And those are
Mhm.
all strong questions to kind of get our clients moving forward, especially if they do have a strategic, smart goal that they're working towards. But sometimes I feel like the deeper questions, the ones that really kind of allow those individuals to grow, is when we encounter and inquire about who do you want to be? Like, what version of yourself do you want to carry forward? What does that look like? Who do you need to
Mhm.
be to accomplish your purpose and fulfill those assignments that you're working towards right now? And those moments, those type of images, those visions, I feel are way more maybe not tangible in terms of like, all right, we can check that goal off the list, but those are the ones that I feel like help us to become the versions of ourselves that we're meant to become in this lifetime.
Beautiful. I'm going to steal the word assignments from you
Yes.
because it is just so fitting. We have multiple assignments on this earthly realm because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Before I respond to everything else that you've said, I just want to greet everyone that's here. Welcome, Steve, that's here on YouTube, Minora and Marissa, who you have been dealing with, Tanesha, and then on LinkedIn, Ashif, all the way from Canada, as always, a regular for us. Omar, it's lovely to see you here with us, Omar. Hoping for you to come on to the live stream sometime. So thank you. And any of your redirection or rejection stories that became your victory stories, please share it with us or pose some questions to us. But to come back to what Tanisha was saying earlier on, is when we are aligned and we are values aligned and we know everything is above us. Your earlier comment also, it's not about me, it's above me, it's greater than me. So if we know that, we the logical mind, and I was just with a client this morning, that's why I was smiling when you said around who do you want to be,
Mhm.
because this client is brilliant. She doesn't need a coach for setting the intention or the purpose and knowing what her explicit goals or purposes are. She doesn't need somebody to help her plan and schedule and execute. But what she really needed was, you know, who do I want to be? What is this version of me going to look like, feel like, show up as? And how am I going to celebrate her? And how do I need to live? And that is for me in our more feminine, nurturing side of ourselves. Now, when I say feminine, it doesn't mean just us females for the gents that are on. But when we get into, I see my son running up the stairs there, when we get into our balanced masculine and feminine side, the egoic side is the control. Hey, listen, I want to control this. I must achieve X, Y, Z as per my SMART goal. But when we go as coaches and service providers that serve, I feel that we need to be more intuitively guided to serve our clients based on where they are. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the ICF and the fact that it is regulated. It keeps the industry regulated. But Tanisha, when we truly serve our clients, we need to serve them and meet them where they are, not
Mm-hmm.
always even our own frameworks and the policies. But those that don't have a language and don't know how to get there, those frameworks are beautiful. So, what would you say to somebody who doesn't have this language or insight or understanding, that don't know how to feel any differently because their consciousness is still sitting in a feeling of I'm the victim?
Yeah.
Something has been done to me, not for me in my favor.
Yes, I've I've encountered that, and honestly, I've been there too, where I just lacked the awareness, the vocabulary to really express how I'm feeling, where I am, the frustration, and just having that one perspective and one mindset very limited. And what I have latched on to be able to get myself out of that and to encourage others to do the same is the power of exposure. There's so much power in exposure of really kind of going outside of your little bubble and finding other ways to see things, other ways to do things. Like there are right now there are so many different channels for what that can look like. I'm an avid reader. I'm a fan of physical books, preferably.
Yes, yes,
But I read books so I can soak up different perspectives. I read a lot of articles, listen to the news, depending on how the world is going, soak
yes.
up different perspectives from other people. Like there are so many different ways to expose ourselves to what's possible. And we are enabled from that space to be able to say like, all right, this fits me and this doesn't. You can keep what serves you and give back what doesn't. There's a lot of perspectives out there. There's a lot of different ways to kind of go about things, but keeping and trying on what fits for you is the most important thing, and exposure provides that avenue for us. In addition, I encourage support, whether that looks like a trusted friend or a coach or someone in your family to kind of help just absorb what you're sharing and maybe even give
Mm,
it back to you. And I think that's another way to gain some exposure and to dance around different perspectives if we're just stuck in one. I know when I was working with my first executive coach while I was at Salesforce, they provided a coach there, and she helped me to see things from that I hadn't even considered before because she was there listening as a non-judgmental person that was there to support and cheerlead and get me moving forward in a way that I hadn't encountered previously. So if we are stuck in a way that like we're just seeing ourselves as the victim, if we're just seeing ourselves as a failure or whatever those things are, for seeing ourselves as our rejections instead of separate from that no, it might be time to expose ourselves to something else, try it on, keep what fits, and keep on going.
it's beautiful. Try it on and keep what fits. So let's come back to you and your story, because essentially what you're saying is Somebody needs to hold up the mirror to you and show the reflection of your beauty, your greatness, and your divinity, rather than you have failed because you feel like you've been rejected. Who was that person to remind you, Tanesha, you need to show yourself some grace in this moment? And you need to have gratitude for all that you already are. And we all need those individuals in our lives. We call them the wise sages along our hero's journey, right? Who would you like to acknowledge here today for that?
Yes, I'm so fortunate to have a community of people that see me. I do feel like that definitely started, of course, with my faith, in my clear method that embody your identity, having that foundation of who you are at your core, who your God says you are, that helps you to start to embody your identity and be like, oh, I am confident, I am beautiful, I am these beautiful things, all combined because that is who He says I am. And having other people that believe the same things, that recognize those things in me and can pour into me is so important too. Of course, my mom and my dad and my family and my friends, they were there to do that too. I have many coaches at this point. I've had coaches across the years, and they've been able to champion me as well. Even people that I love to follow on social media, like I love Michelle Obama's content and Brene Brown's content and Lovey, and just seeing their stuff that resonates too. And was like, oh, if they believe that about themselves and they can see that in other people, why can't I see that in myself too? And then eventually I had to get to a point of, all right, all of these great support systems that I have externally are fabulous, but who am I to myself? Like, what can I say to myself authentically? And what do I believe about who I actually am? And that was been a process. And I think it's going to be an ongoing process, recognizing that I'm going to encounter new versions of myself along this journey. But recognizing that those versions of myself have helped me to get where I am right now. And the future ones are going to be so much stronger and confident and more authentic versions of themselves because of this journey. Is such a privilege.
You know, there's something powerful and profound of what you said. And it's always good to have a support network, but you need to have a conviction within yourself too. And not always seek outside of yourself. And how often do we do that, Tanesha? We're always seeking validation, permission, recognition, that sense of belonging. And what I'm hearing you say is something that is even better. When I have acceptance within me, I'm grateful to everyone out there that gives me the acknowledgement and recognition, but it's not it doesn't define me. What defines me is how I see myself in that mirror, not in how everyone else holds up the mirror to me.
Right.
Mm. So
So true.
let's talk about these methods. I mean, before we go to the methods, what was it like working at Disney? And what was your role there? I'm just curious. And what lessons and
Yeah.
learnings of rejection, even in that environment, or in Under Armour, did you take?
Yes, working at Disney was really awesome. It was actually my one of my first roles transitioning out of professional theater into corporate events. So at Disney, I worked with the Disney Event Group as a production specialist there, and had the opportunity to work on a lot of different, mostly corporate events. So Disney Event Group is kind of like Disney's own creative event experience agency internal to Disney. So
Yes.
companies, tech companies, billionaire clients would just come and say like, "Hey, we want to have an experience here," and Disney Event Group would be the one where we would have a chance to create it. And it was a really educational experience because my first time doing anything really event related, and seeing how the similarities between theater and events lined up was so incredible. It felt like events were kind of like theater on fire. We have greater budgets and sometimes even shorter timelines, and you only have one chance to get it right. Whereas theater, sometimes we have some previews, and we have
Yes,
opening night, and then we have a whole run, and then the closing. By the closing, that's probably one of the best shows. But for events, it's not that way. So what I really took away from that work at Disney was really actually the importance of starting to build a network. Um, the way that, at least when I was there, how it was structured, you could actually just kind of walk around the Disney event group offices, and all the producers were there, production managers, and just going up and like introducing myself and being like, "Hey, I'm Tanesha. I am new. I I'm here for this contracted time. What can I learn? What can you tell me about your role and your experience?" And most of them, they were able to take the time out and share that with me. And occasionally they'd be like, "Oh, no, I can't right now. Come back later." So I feel like sometimes those come back laters, those little micro rejections, which
yes,
I had started there, but I saw them kind of throughout my career, were kind of things that I probably could have taken personally. Like those could have been an opportunity that I've been like, "Oh, they don't like me, they don't want to help me, they don't see my value, um, I have no worth here." Like that could have been how I took it, but luckily,
and
how it's
also imposter syndrome. Hey, do I
yes,
really fit here?
yes. Oh, imposter syndrome is one of the worst things. I've talked about a lot
Yes,
about that in my speaking, and it's something that we just kind of internalize, and we start to believe that that's true. However, for at least for that space, I could be like, "Oh, this person didn't have the time. Let me just go into the next one." And I think that was already starting to like help me to build the resilience that I'm able to carry with me right now. Because of course, as a business
yes,
owner, there's a lot of rejection right now. It's happening. So probably right now I have
all
like
the
a rejection.
time.
Yeah, all the time.
I know. We're both business owners, so you have to have how many no's I mean, what is the ratio of no's to yeses? And if you took it personal or felt like a failure or not worthy and deserving of, and I suppose that's it. Our guest last week spoke about deservingness. And so
Mm,
you can't get to that feeling of resilience if you don't believe you're deserving of, because you're attaching your worth and deservingness to the no's rather than,
right.
hey, not yet. It's not yet a yes. It's a no for now. But I mean, how do you lift yourself out of that? What are some ways? Is your methods, your frameworks a good guide for that? Please give us some tools.
Definitely. So to go back to the original story of the layoff, after I was laid off, I did what many people would do that received a severance is I went to Costa Rica to learn Spanish. Because that just seemed like the place to figure out my life. It wasn't it, but I did that and had a little bit of clarity working with some coaches and started to pursue my coaching journey. And I figured there would be something on the side.
Mm,
So I thought that, okay, I got laid off for this opportunity. I have tons of event experience. Let me go ahead and just start applying for jobs. So I applied for great roles. I was getting interviews for all the cool tech companies and such, opportunities that seemed like a great fit. And next thing you know, like weird things would happen. Like, oh, the hiring manager was let go. Oh, we don't have budget for this role anymore. I'm like we're using your search engines. What do you mean you don't have budget? Like I'm sure you're getting money. So it was odd things just happening left and right. So I was like, all right, these are a lot of rejections happening at the same time. And then I started feeling
time.
rejections kind of in my relationships and my friendships. I'd be like, hey, you want to hang out? Oh, no, I can't. Oh, yes, we can. Then, like, 5 minutes later before the event, oh, I can't anymore. Like, rejection as I was putting my business. So it was like a compound of rejection that started right after that. And it really started to get to me. And I was like, I need to work through this. I cannot, like, every time a rejection email comes through or a phone call, because if you interview for some companies, they call you and tell you that you've gotten rejected, which is great in some ways, but also a little negative in others. So I started to do this inner work with myself, and honestly, it just kind of came to me that, Tanesha, you are not being rejected. Your offer is. Your offer of being employed with this company, your offer to offer companionship to this person at this time, your offer to support somebody in this fashion, like those are the things that are being rejected. It's not you personally. It's not your purpose. It's not your value. It's not who you are. And understanding and really internalizing that, oh my goodness, my offer is being rejected, not me, that completely shifted everything. I went from like dreading getting rejections to like, oh my goodness, how many offers can I put on the line today? How many times can I get rejected today? Like, how,
Wow.
like, it's crazy. And I'm still doing it. Like, and some of them are automated, so it doesn't hurt as much. But still, like, I consistently am putting offers on the line on a daily basis, and getting rejected on a daily basis. And that was the first step of like recognizing, separating myself from the offer. And then I started to develop other tactics too. Like, I am a huge fan of humor, especially in like dark humor and sad situations. So I was like, what if I cultivated a rejection character? So I have this rejection mime, and she kind of pops up in my mind, and I'm like, oh, and she's an awful mime. Like, she'll make a lot of noise, she'll fall off the tightrope, like all of those things. Like, when a rejection happens, sometimes I'll just imagine her like, oh gosh, she's just having an off day today. It's okay. It was just a no.
Oh,
It's
that's
fine.
brilliant.
Yes, love it, love it. And then I have so many tips on the rejections because I've been experiencing them so much. And I was so excited to come onto this podcast because gratitude is one of the biggest pieces of rejection that I have started to really come to terms with it. And I am so grateful for every single no that I get, every rejection. Like, thank you. Because they could have ghosted you, they could have told you nothing. But like, to have an answer, there's so much gratitude in that. You got feedback now for your next offer. You have data for your next offer. There's so much gratitude in rejection if you allow it to seep into that situation. So, yes, rejection I could talk about for like hours. I know we don't have that much time, but really, I have a lot of writings on it too on my blog. I have a resource too for people to help reframe their most recent rejection. I love to throw a rejection party, like take your emails
Oh my gosh.
and like, honestly, there's so many
I'm
ways to
gonna type
encounter
that. Throwing a rejection party
yes.
or having you said a character,
Mm-hmm.
a rejection character. What else? Hey, man, this is brilliant stuff.
Yeah,
Let's
I
put that
do
up on
feel.
the screen.
Thank you. I do feel like, yes, rejection is really great. But we also, on the flip side, have to celebrate the acceptances too.
Yeah,
We can throw a
yeah.
party for rejection, but let's throw an acceptance party as well. Tell a friend that like you got accepted today, or tell them that you got a rejection today too. Like, I feel like if you can add some community around your rejections, it makes it a little bit easier to first actually put your offer on the line and be like, hey, I'm about to do something scary and it might end up in a no. Let them know about it and then celebrate on the back end if it's a no or if it's a yes. Like, those are some beautiful things that you can leverage to make rejection sting just a little bit less. And when they do come, remind yourself it was the offer. It wasn't me. Feel the feelings if you need to. I cry a lot, so cry about it if you need to. but take and extract what you can from it. Be grateful for that experience. Recognize that you might have needed that no to get to where you need to get to. So
Ah,
celebrate it.
oh my word. I am having so much fun with what you just shared right now because, it is about how do we disassociate ourselves from the belief around it, from that narrative, from that script. And so I mean, it's just brilliant. I love creating the character, because I'll say to my clients, um, if you have got this assumed belief or adaptation that you've taken on, what would you label them as? Or if you had to give them a character, what would they be? And the reason you and I both know we do that is because we're disassociating Tanisha or Anissa from that particular label of being rejected. And so
Yes.
it's brilliant. It's brilliant because the brain then does not connect to the the lack of or the scarcity of I'm not good enough or worthy enough, just the offer wasn't aligned. Or what I have to offer is not necessarily a fit. I mean, I recently went into a opportunity and it was like it was written for me. Even in the first discussion, it was like, hey, you speak our language. And it's like, okay,
Yes.
there's a fit. And then the second part of the negotiation was like, hey, listen, you've got the blueprint like written for us, and we think this is a wonderful fit. Until I got to the third one, and there wasn't resonance with me and the individual, and I found myself performing because I felt
Mhm.
rejected in that moment. And so I performed and spoke in a way that I thought this person would resonate better with, and I lost my essence, my truth, my authenticity. And so therein also is an opportunity for us to learn because you said something earlier on gather the data from the rejection, because those are the insights and how we lead forward with wisdom. And I think Ashish said setbacks set us forward. It
Yes.
actually leapfrogs us forward because maybe that opportunity, that environment, and you said another lovely thing, that companionship is not in resonance with your frequency, even, and that it could potentially have vibrationally brought you down and set you back even further from where you are meant to be heading and leapfrogging towards. So I love the idea of a rejection party. And in fact, you've just inspired me because I have just finished. I don't know if you're familiar with this tool. For those that don't know, the year compass. Are you familiar with it? Anyway, the
I'm
compass is really
not.
just a compass of reflection of the previous year and really deeply reflecting around what's worked and what can we accept and celebrate in the accepts. And when you're sitting in that reflection, you move forward with grace and gratitude for yourself. And only then do you plan the vision and the forward purpose for 2026. And therein lies the recipe, the magic ingredient. So even the setbacks, in the reflection, we learn that it was a gift and an
Yes.
opportunity, but we don't know it until we sit still. So let's talk about getting still. And I want to delve into your framework a bit more because clarifying purpose means to get still. Essentially, it's
Yes.
another way of saying get still. Live aligned is really your values, is your North Star, it's your guiding North Star. And then align with courage is being okay to get the no's. And that's my understanding. And then letting that ripple impact into your life. But you talk us through a practical example, either of why that worked for you or how it can work for others. and have already worked in your client environment.
Yes, definitely. I actually just started sharing about like creating a framework. I was asked to talk about like how my frameworks came to be and what that looks like in case of other coaches who are looking to do something similarly. And something that I shared in that keynote presentation was the framework followed the work. Like I didn't just sit down and I was like, let me create a framework to look official and confident and let me have some trademarks because everyone's impressed by trademarks. Nobody cares about trademarks. That's not really what's going to have somebody come and hire you.
Exactly.
However,
It's just another construct and another label and a form that we're putting ourselves into, right?
exactly. So, however, though, like it does, at least for as I've been creating mine, I was doing the work already and I just started to notice things. So I was doing the work for myself and I was like, all right, if I want to live full out, I need to know what my purpose is. I need to have my values as that guardrail for the direction that I want to go with. And you're completely right for a line of courage because there are some things that are going to happen, like rejections, like fear, like failure, and I have to get over those things to live this full out life. So these pieces started to come together in the clear method because the reason why that framework even came to be born is because I recognized it for myself and then I started to recognize it for the clients that I was serving. A lot of my clients, they were unsure of what their purpose was, or they fear was keeping them stuck. They weren't able to move forward how they felt like it. I love to work with people who I call multi passionates. So they have multi different ideas and they have their side hustle and their full time job and their creative passions and they're trying to bring this all together. So, what does that look like, and how can they ripple their impact and serve others from there? So, I started to notice as I was doing the work for myself, I was helping my clients do the work, is that these themes just kept popping up. So, that's how the framework came to fruition. So, the themes were popping up and it aligned with it. It helped my clients to recognize where they were in the process, and it helped to make it a little bit easier for me to talk about the transformation
Yeah.
that happens with the clients that I work with. I will also say though that it looks different for everybody. That's what I love about the full out coaching, the name that it came up with. I was a dancer before I transitioned into theater, and in rehearsals, like you can either mark something, which just means you're just going through the motions, you're just kind of hitting the steps a little bit, kind of like your arm supposed to be high and it's just kind of at like 45 degrees, same for your legs, and that's marking it. And then going full out is when you're going performance ready. Like you're ready to be on stage. Your emotions are on display. Like your legs are high and lifted. Like that is how I wanted to live my life. And how full out looks for myself looks different for each person. So
Agree.
giving people something that they can kind of practically attach to so that they can kind of create the vision of what full out looks for them and I can serve them and help them get there in that process is such a privilege. So find what works for you is what I always encourage people. Like if you already have that clarity on your purpose and you know your values, but you don't know how you can ripple your impact, figure out what that looks like for yourself and tie that into that full out vision that you're trying to live and bring into fruition.
You know, Tanisha, and I mean, as much as you say you're a PCC ICF coach, what you've just described is at that master's level, right? I'm certainly not a master's coach yet, but I feel that when we cannot attach ourselves as um, I want to call us those people that serve, in the way that you serve, you're not attaching to your method, your outcome, your experience, and you just allow the individual also to tap into the inner guidance, that intuition. They operating from a place of personal power means that you're not attached to the outcome, whether it is fruitful or not. It doesn't matter. The framework is just an enabler. in the same way that money is just an enabler, right? But the sense of personal power and agency is what most masters coaches say. You need to have agency. And if you have agency, I'm just here along the ride with you. I'm here to
Yes.
support you in the accountability aspect. Now, sometimes the accountability is hard. I used to hate one of my coaches. I love hated him. I don't know if you've experienced that, but
Yes.
you want to be held accountable, but you almost love hate this person because damn, they just calling you out on your
Yes.
bullshit, for lack of a better word. So how do we balance, allowing somebody to step into their personal power, moving forward with empathy and compassion, and allowing them to be generative with knowing what the possibilities are for their life. But at what stage do we have to step in, assert that um, level of holding that mirror back to show them the not so great side, the discomfort side, the parts that they want to hide and run away from? Because we all have that. We all have the dis-ease and the dissonance.
Yes.
And you said another thing earlier on. Yes, you need to cry. We need to cry. We need to be okay with crying when we are rejected or when we have uncomfortable emotions and not feeling in top form at any given moment. But how do we make people feel comfortable with the uncomfortable? So, how do we? What are
Yeah,
your
this
ways?
is a really interesting question. It's really interesting. I'm actually thinking back. So, due to being a PCC, I now am eligible to mentor coach other coaches. And
Mm-hmm,
in one of my recent mentor coach sessions, we actually were talking about this particular thing. Like, say a client comes and, they said that they were going to do something, and it's been like a couple weeks, and they haven't done it. Where's the accountability? And how do you still support them and show up coach like in those moments? And I recognize that this goes beyond coaching. It also goes within our relationships too. And this is the power of curiosity and being supportive in those moments of, what's going on? What is really getting in your way? Like, why aren't you moving forward? Um,
mm-hmm,
and I think even if you're not a coach, sometimes being a little curious or just sitting there with that person, holding space for that person, regardless of if they feel like they failed or they didn't uphold their side of the deal, is such a human thing to do that I feel and recognize that sometimes people aren't accustomed to doing naturally. A lot of people want to go ahead and solve the problem, offer advice, where sometimes we just need to be there for them, be a little curious, and then see if I can support you in some way throughout that way. And I think there's so much power in it that, and maybe that is, like, I'm having a little epiphany myself right now, is maybe that's why people don't do it, because they recognize that there's so much power in just being silent, holding space for somebody, asking questions, because that's uncomfortable sometimes too. To
mm-hmm.
allow somebody to express their vulnerability and you not judge it and you not try to put a band-aid on it, like that's such a gift to whoever you're doing that with and for. So that's what I encourage people to do. Lean into curiosity, lean into some silence. I love a good silent pause. I love silence in the minute of a session, of a conversation, all of those things, and figure out what support you can offer and do it.
It's beautiful because it's sacred, right? And it's how do we hold sacred space or demonstrate to whether you're a coach or not, it's irrelevant here. Please, for everyone listening in, holding sacred space is not rescuing and saving. Holding sacred space, what Tanesha is saying, is witnessing the person in their pain, in their trauma, in their wound, in their disgust and shame and guilt and dissonance of not even achieving what they had said that they needed to achieve for themselves. And it's not cracking the whip, but it's saying, how do you give yourself permission to be okay that
Definitely.
you did not act according to your own purpose and value system? Not an easy thing because people are so used to wanting to justify or solve, whereas in the curiosity that you were alluding to and in the silence, there's a lot of treasure that can come from understanding what's coming up in that silence. So, what emotion shows up? What am I feeling in this moment? And if I'm feeling disgust or shame, where is that coming from? Right? So, without us going into an actual coaching in experience here right now, but the rejection is always linked to some form of an emotion or a
Yes.
past experience. And so I'm hearing you say just witness the person in that moment of what they might be experiencing with even the rejection of themselves. So where do we reject ourselves even? Where are we not honoring ourselves? And Tanisha, what is in the last moments? We've got a few minutes left. Where did you discover that you rejected yourself more than you were being rejected? And how did you overcome and rise above that? I know I'm asking some really deep questions, but
Yeah.
I it's just where I am in this
Yes.
moment.
I actually I refer to those as self. I love the deep questions.
I'm glad you do. So where did you
Yes,
reject
thank
yourself and how
you
did
for
you honor
that.
yourself in
I
that?
would say I actually refer to those as self rejections. We had a little delay there. Are we there? Okay.
Yeah, I heard you say
Awesome. I would
self-rejection.
yes. Yes, self rejections is what I refer to them as. And um, honestly, the self rejections usually for me come before I place the offer on the line. Like when I self reject because, like, oh, I'm not going to get this opportunity anyway, or they're not going to respond to me, or something like that. Those moments, I started to recognize the pattern, especially when there were things that were scary or I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. There's a lot of uncertainty attached to it. Those self rejections end up popping up a lot. And what I've started to do now is actually, I have a post-it note somewhere on my desk about like do the scary things so that I force myself to do it. I put my offer on the line regardless. I tell somebody else that, hey, I did the scary thing today. I might post it on social media. I did something scary today. And the fact that I did something scary, put the offer on the line, that's something worth celebrating. So, celebrating the fact that I overcame the potential self rejection that I could have placed on myself is something
Mhm.
that has carried me through and has allowed me to try things, put offers on the line, to make something happen because sometimes those scary things, overcoming the self rejection, has actually resulted in yes, is resulted in acceptance. So that keeps me going. And if anyone wants to celebrate doing a scary thing, just hit me up. I will definitely put some emojis out there and or voice chat to you because that's worth celebrating. You did something scary and you navigated rejection and that's something to celebrate every time.
Love it. So in closing, what is your final closeout must do gem, or what is the golden nugget you want to leave our audience with today?
The golden nugget for today is you are exactly where you are meant to be. Like every single rejection that you've encountered needed you needed to encounter to get here. You are becoming the version of yourself that you're meant to become. And I am so appreciative and grateful that we get to do this life together. So that's what's coming up.
Love it. I've just posted that, but I'm trying to multitask here.
All
And
good.
like you, I'm also a multi-passionate and have all these different things. So for me, I got so much out of this. You have inspired me to go and execute on some of the things that I have been holding back on. And I'm going to embrace the scary things. I am not the type of person that is uncomfortable with no's, but sometimes they are scary, and then we hold back and we say, how dare I think that I can do this? So, my final takeout and enclosure would be to say, how dare I not do this? And how dare I not get 1,000 rejections that's going to take me to that one accept that might be the catalyst? So, on that note, thank you, Tanesha, for a beautiful, really insightful conversation. Do stay with me on the live. I will end the live, but we will have a short debrief. And for those that have been with us the entire hour, thank you so much. And we value your presence, your insight. And those that are going to watch the replay, do let us know what your thoughts are and your insights. And then, Tanisha, do you want to tell people where they can get a hold of you? You can always go back into the LinkedIn post as well, but just tell everyone where they can get hold of you if they want to connect and work with you.
Yes, thank you so much again. I am on Instagram and social media, Tanesha L Moody, TANESHALMOODY on Instagram. Same for my website too. If you're looking for some ebooks and resources to help you reframe and navigate rejection, or if you're looking to figure out and name your purpose too, all resources on my website. But I'm so appreciative and grateful.
It's been a pleasure. And let's also think about let's host a rejection party. So I'm going to put that out there to you, Tanisha, for anyone that wants to join myself
Yes.
and Tanisha on a live rejection party. I think that might be an interesting live stream to host. So without further ado, I'm going to end our live stream. We missed you, Jamila, but we'll see everyone again next week, same time, same place. And God bless you. And may this be a brilliant year for everyone. I'll end the live.